So when it's 3rd and 3, Sean McVay, keep it simple. Run the ball.
And you look at your check, and they give you $30 on that first check. What you doing? You're going straight to HR.
And Shane Waldron, who I'm going to get on, is the guy that beat us today. He is horrible.
And that boy Avery Johnson with that LeBron hair flipping under that helmet. hey, he be slinging that thing, boy. That is the thing about it being in the heat of competition. I'm going to do whatever it takes to beat you. Hold up, before you get to watching this video, let me talk to you for a second. Hit that bell down below and subscribe to the Fitz Take Podcast YouTube channel so you'll know when every episode is dropping or if something has been posted on this page. Also, be sure to follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. Now back to the episode. What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into another episode of the Fitz Take Podcast. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you can always call me Fitz. He's your guy, E-Money, the pride of Connecticut. Elijah Nixon there on that end. Guys, thank y'all so much, first of all, for 77 subscribers. Before we got on live on Saturday night, we had 69 subscribers. We got to 71 right before we went live. And then by the end of the live, we had 75. As of this recording, on Sunday at 4:35, we have 77 subscribers. So we appreciate y'all so much for that. But we got a little bit of an incentive for y'all that haven't subscribed yet. Elijah, you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, either we're gonna find whoever get us to 100, or probably whoever was already subscribed, take a picture of their subscription, comment, and stuff like that, and that you have subscribed. I'm willing to give out a $25 gift card to Chick-fil-A. Now listen, that's for something you could eat for the whole week. You could probably get you and your lady or you and your man a meal, however you want to do it. At the end of the day, it'll be $25 to Chick-fil-A. All you have to do is just prove that you subscribe, comment, and if you can, share it. Let somebody else subscribe as well. You know, if don't be the stingy friend if you're trying to hold the bucks. Now, if you got it and if you're at 98, you share that to somebody else, to one of your friends, and hopefully they would subscribe and share the gift card with you. So
I'll go one better. I'll match that $25, and we'll just make it a Visa. That way they can spend it on however they want to. So this is how we're gonna do it, guys. Make sure, and we'll post this on social so y'all will have the information that you need. You need to be subscribed to the Fitz Take Podcast. You need to have proof that you are subscribed to the channel. And once you let us know that, when we hit 100, we will. I don't know how we would put all of the names in the hat, because some people have their stuff. I guess we would have to randomly select. So I guess we'll do this then. Comment under the post. So you'll have to be subscribed. You'll either take a screenshot or say subscribed or something like that. You'll put it underneath the post. You'll show it to us. We'll put all of those names in the hat. Now, if you don't put your name, you don't comment. If you're old head, you don't know how to comment or nothing like that, I'm sorry. These are the obligations. So you will have to have subscribed. You will need to comment down with proof of subscription, and you will be there to enter for the $50 gift card. I'll go ahead and match that thing and make it a little bit sweeter for y'all. So like we said, we appreciate all 77 for y'all. And here's to us getting to 100. While you're at it, guys, like we've said, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They are linked down in the description. Also follow the Fitz Take Podcast on our social media platforms. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Go ahead and follow us there as well. And finally, follow my production company, ONEWAY Productions. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as we are the hub for all things Fitz Take Podcast and all of our future endeavors that we are trying to do in the near future. So with all of that being said, we had a busy weekend when it comes to football, high school football, college football, Sunday, plenty of football, everything going on all around the sun. So a whole lot of action. Elijah, what was probably your favorite thing about this entire weekend that you saw?
The Georgia and Alabama game. I think that that one lived up to the hype. It didn't look like it was at first. That game was over in that first half, but with the way that Georgia came back and fought tells me that these two teams will meet again, whether it's in the SEC championship game or in the playoffs. So these two teams will meet up again. Next time will be at a neutral site, but I don't think a neutral site is Georgia because Atlanta going to pull out for Georgia anyway. So it's going to be somewhere else. But that was my highlight of the weekend. Man. What was yours?
Man, I would have to say the Cajuns upset over Wake Forest, just because of how much emotion it evoked for Cajuns fans, how much emotion it evoked for head coach Michael Desimo, which we'll hop into some of that a little bit later. But it was just a big moment. I feel like this is a program defining moment. You know, I think within the last few years, you had the Iowa State upset that the Cajuns had. I think that was in 2019, 2020, one of those years there. And then obviously you have the Sun Belt Championship that they won back in 21. I feel like this is one of those moments where in 5-10 years you look back on the trajectory or the outlook of the Ragin Cajuns football program and you'll say, hey, when they beat Wake Forest, that really set the tone of how this program is now, how they're viewed now when we're looking back at this program. So it was a great weekend of sports. And so with that, we'll go ahead and hop into take number one. Our first play is going to be the New Orleans Saints falling to their arch nemesis. I'm talking worse than Crocker and Timmy Turner. Their arch rival, the Atlanta Falcons, they lose in a very, very close one. 26-24 would be the final. New Orleans spotted the Falcons 14 points. They did get a turnover in their own right, but ultimately they lose by the foot of Young Waku, and they're able to Atlanta pull out the victory. Both teams are now 2-2 on the season. Obviously, the Saints dropping, Atlanta improving to 2-2. So Elijah, I know me and you were both in and out watching this game. I know you were watching the Rams game. I was watching some of the first half of this game before that Sunday itis kicked in from the food that I had ate. But I went back and watched the highlights. But just from your perspective, what ultimately was the reason why the Saints weren't able to pull out this victory?
Turnovers, we discussed turnovers. But honestly, man, this is what NFL football is all about. Like you never know how you're gonna get a win. You never know how you'll get a loss. And whatever one and however you get that loss is gonna piss you off. Because at the end of the day, if you're a Saints fan, you're looking at this game, you're thinking my offense was flying high the first 2 weeks. Derek Carr is under center. He's playing the best football that we've probably seen since he had that MVP caliber year with the Raiders when he was in Oakland. He's playing well the first 2 weeks. I even apologize. But then today, I'm sorry, Sunday, you see these guys playing, they're still moving the ball, but not as efficiently. The turnovers, the interception return in Atlanta, losing to a team like Atlanta with them not scoring an offensive touchdown at all and winning on a walk-off, not only piss you off as a Saint fan, but it piss you off as a football team. Because at the end of the day, defensively, you did everything you could to keep them out the end zone, but you did, and you still find a way to lose the game. Now, this is not a time if I'm in the Saints in the locker room not to point fingers. We're still very young in the season, still got time to go. But at the same time, this should be a wake up call and saying, look, we got to play better complementary football, and we need to get down the field and put some points back on the board. Initially, I said I was calling for Derek Carr job by week 5. He got off that hook for me because of the way how he played for the first 2 weeks. Now, the last 2 weeks, he hasn't been playing too well. But at the end of the day, I still give him a chance of saying, hey, he could be the guy going on and going forward with this football team. Now, if he continues to play like mess, then I think that, maybe they should turn their head and try to, give that young guy a chance of Spencer. But at the same time, I don't blame this all on Derek. I blame this on the lack of execution because I think the coaching was actually there, and that's me giving flowers to Dennis Allen, which I never do. But I think the coaching was actually there, and I think that it just didn't fall in your favor today. So it just sucks that you fall to the Saints like this, man. Your arch nemesis, and you fall to a team that didn't even put the ball past the pylons, and you fall. So.
Yeah. I think that obviously the overarching theme is going to be, obviously the muff punt by Rashid Shaheed, and then also the pick six that the Saints have, which I don't believe that's Derek Carr's fault. I mean, you're trying to hit a screen, you're trying to either double clutch it and throw around him, or throw it in the ground, it gets batted in the air. And you know how I always say tips and overthrows, we got to have those. Like those are the things that defenses are looking for. If the ball gets popped in the air, that's like taking candy from a baby. And so those are, plays that are hard to overcome. But ultimately, I think why the Saints dropped this game was because Taysom Hill got hurt. He scored both of their touchdowns that they had there in the first half. He is a very intricate part of their offense. If you noticed last week when they played the Philadelphia Eagles and he didn't play, they struggled to have some form of an identity. Taysom Hill is the Swiss Army knife part of their offense that sets them apart from everyone else. Because when you put him out there, you can put him in so many different positions. It makes it harder for defenses to game plan for, because one play he's lined up at tight end. The next play he can line up at quarterback. The next play he can line up at fullback. The next play he can line up at, running back. You can put him in the pistol. You can line him up in behind Derek Carr. They can motion Carr out, and then he can direct. Like, there's so many avenues that makes your offense so much more dynamic. And schematically, it vanillas your offense down a little bit, because now, okay, we want to hand the ball off. We got to turn around and give it to Kamara. There's only so many ways you can scheme giving him the ball. Run inside zone, outside zone. He's not really a between the tackles guy all the time. He can do it, but he's more of somebody that you get him out to the edge, you let him get in space and work your magic. Jamal Williams, can, spare him a few reps here and there, but he's not ultimately a part of your game plan to be getting more than maybe 10 touches a game. So with Taysom Hill out of the lineup, that I feel like was the biggest reason of why, or one of the other bigger reasons why they lost this football game. He left the game, I believe it was in the second quarter, and the game really was, well, if it wasn't the second quarter, it was early third. One of the two, I think it was a play that he got hurt on where they, collapsed on the pile on him. He had I think a bruised lung the week before, and now it's his ribs on the other side. And then you look at the fact that they had a lot of guys that were banged up. They were out 2 offensive linemen. Eric McCoy, out for the foreseeable future. Cesar Ruiz also did not play. Alvin Kamara had broken ribs and still played. Like, this is the part of the season. It's still early, but this is the part of the season where somebody has a high ankle sprain. Somebody has a, broken hand. Somebody has, this going on with their arm. Somebody has this going on with their back. Like, everybody is dealing with something right now. This is a 100% chance of injury game, because you are getting into a car accident every single play for 50 to 60 plays throughout an entire game. So you're bound to get hurt. Like, take it from someone that played it. I did not play it at the highest of levels, but as long as you're playing football, at some point you're going to get hurt. And so they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but that's no excuse, because in the NFL, the expectation is to go out and win football games on Sundays. That's why they pay you the big bucks. And so now what New Orleans is going to have to figure out how to do is, how do they find identity when Taysom Hill is not on the field? Ultimately, I think they can do that, because you still have Rashid Shaheed, who's dynamic. You still have Chris Olave, who's a great receiver. You still have Jawan Johnson, that's a phenomenal tight end that sometimes I kind of feel like he gets lost in the shuffle because of Taysom Hill being there and being able to be that Swiss Army knife. You still have weapons there. As much as Taysom is a big part of your offense, you're going to have to find your identity, have to find that next man up mentality to figure out who else can step in for you, that can be able to make a difference. Defensively, like you said, they did everything they possibly could do to make sure that Atlanta did not win this game. I mean, you take away the pick 6, and that's 7 less. That's 19. So now you win by 5. You take away Rashid Shaheed's muff punt, which that shouldn't have happened. He's good about, knowing when to not take it or just let it go in the end zone, which is what he should have done, and let it be a touchback. You take that away. Now they only score 12 points. Now you beat the team 24-12. And who knows? It could be even more, because you spotted them 2 possessions. You could have scored on the pick 6 drive, and you could have scored on the one where Shaheed muffs the punt. So, it could have potentially been 38-12. Now you're talking about a blowout. Those few plays do make the difference, but I think ultimately Taysom Hill was something that really hurt the Saints in the long run, not him being in the lineup and them trying to figure out what it is. So with that in mind, Elijah, if Taysom Hill continues to be in and out of the lineup, who do you see being the main culprit? That's kind of another not Swiss Army knife, but another wild card for the Saints offense that can help them, continue to be explosive the way that they were those first 2 weeks of the season.
He's already out there, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara, the guy he's already out there. No, he's not going to be playing the tight end position and doing that, but he can assist and help block. When say if Derek Carr is looking for that extra block if a pass rush get through. The ball need to be in Alvin Kamara hands. Most of the game. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that they're not trying to do it because it's obvious that they are. But that's the guy to me that make this offense go because once he goes, you can play action, hit Chris Olave over the top. You can quick throw when they got like a 8-man in the box. You can quick throw and hit Shaheed, and he can go. Or you can hit Shaheed over the top. It doesn't really matter. Like Alvin Kamara is that guy that makes is the engine that makes his offense go. And I think that if he continues to stay healthy, which I hope he does, the Saints, like I said, it's not the panic button for the Saints because you still got him on the field. And I think that's the guy that's the most dynamic when we talk about the Saints offense.
Absolutely. I would have to say that, as important as Kamara is, that's someone that you can game plan to take him out of the game. I mean, the Eagles stifled him pretty well last week. I think Juwan Johnson is going to be a big part of what can help the Saints have that X factor. When you look at what a quarterback needs to be successful, he needs a great defense. He needs a great run game. Derek Carr has those two components, but he also needs a security blanket in a tight end. Taysom Hill is kind of that pretty much for Derek Carr. But now, if it's him in and out of the lineup, I feel like it has to be Juwan Johnson. And we saw Juwan Johnson be very much that even when the Saints were playing bad, when it was Andy Dalton in the mix, when it was Trevor Siemian, he was still able to make noise offensively for that offense. So I think that the Saints have to get him more targets. I think he only had 2 catches in this contest against Atlanta. He needs to get more touches if Taysom is not in the lineup. I think ultimately that will, open things up a little bit differently, whether that's hitting him on drag routes across the field, hitting him on, a few corner routes, whatever you need to do to get him out in space. He's capable of taking care of the entire route tree and getting out there and opening things up and, making it to where the defense has to take their eyes off of Kamara. They almost seemingly not forget about him, but say, okay, we got to pay attention to Alvin, but now we got to pay attention to this tight end out here. That's what makes teams like, the 49ers effective because teams are like, yeah, when Christian McCaffrey was healthy, you had him in the backfield, but you got to watch for George Kittle on the pop route. You got to watch for him on the flat route. You got to watch for him running the out. You got to watch him running the stick route. Same thing with Kansas City with Travis Kelce. I think Juwan Johnson could not necessarily be on that same tier of tight end level, but he could be something that's within those same regards to give Derek Carr a form of a security blanket. So the Saints fall there to the Atlanta Falcons by 2 points. Next up for them, in my opinion, will probably be their toughest test of the season outside of the Eagles. They will face off with the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs on the Monday Night Lights next Monday, as they will face Kansas City on ESPN. That is going to be your measuring stick. That's going to be your game to see where you really are. So the Saints will face the Chiefs next week on Monday night. After that, they have the Bucks, Broncos, and Chargers, and then the Panthers again. So right now you're at the first quarter of the season because you've played your first 4 games and you're 2-2. Now your next quarter of the season is Chiefs, Bucks, Broncos, and Chargers. I think if you come out of that mix 3-1, you're golden. I think that one can only be against the Chiefs. Everybody else, you gotta go in. Even though the Bucks are playing some really good football, they went in and I think they just mollywopped the Eagles not too long ago. Baker Mayfield is playing very, very good football over there. But I feel like that's a game that you have to have because it's a divisional game. And then, the Chargers are playing fairly decent as well. So I feel like those are the games that you're going to have to get here in the second quarter of the season. So we'll see how the Saints will be able to manage after suffering their second loss of this very young season. Moving forward, making some forward progress, take number 2. Let's start off in the college ranks now, and let's start with the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns getting their upset victory over Wake Forest. This is now, 2 days removed now. Yeah, it'll be 2 days removed when this airs. It'll be 2 days removed from the Cajuns picking up that upset victory. And now some of the emotional high, I'm sure, has kind of gone down just a little bit, because now you're getting into, okay, yes, we won this really big game, but we can't let this be our Super Bowl. We can't let this be our ultimate championship. We have more goals to obtain. But just Elijah, from a program standpoint, and an outlook for the program, what do you believe this victory did for the Cajuns, for this program, for the Cajun Nation, like all of those things like that? What do you think this victory did for them?
I think that just showed that you could beat anybody. Right now, that's the confidence that you have. You can go out there and beat anybody. Um, not saying Wake Forest was the end all be all, the top team in the ACC, but on paper, a lot of people had them beating you because they thought they were a better team. I know the week prior to that, you lost to Tulane, who's one of the top teams in their conference, uh, by 8. So you still, pushing forward and moving past things and getting beating the Demon Deacons. Uh, it just shows that you have the confidence to beat anybody, especially right now when you're going into the Sun Belt, part of your schedule. You want that confidence. You want these challenges. You want to say, "Hey, I know I can make this throw downfield right now." You want to say, "Hey, when I give the ball to this running back, he could make a play." You could feel confident that your defense could make that last stop or some stops when you need it. Right now, Raging Cajuns' confidence should be right now through the roof. And I'm not talking about for next week, but for a couple of games to come, unless something derails it. But right now, they should feel like they're untouchable. Um, Ben Woolridge and his offense has been balling since the kickoff of the season. You alluded to it yesterday. They scored 30 points in every contest, 30 points or more in every contest. So again, I'm the Cajuns. I'm just thinking I'm untouchable. I'm thinking there's nobody could beat me, but at the same time, stay level-headed enough so when you play these other teams, like some teams that they're probably better than on paper and on a football field, they're level-headed enough to not take those guys very lightly. Handle your business, stand on business, and get ready to go to whatever that next week will be.
Yeah, absolutely. From a program standpoint, like I said in the beginning, I feel like this is one of those defining moments. This is their first ACC victory, in program history. So that's one that you can check off. When you look at the disparity between group of fives and power fours, it's always the conversation of the haves and the have-nots. But at the end of the day, the football has to be put down on the ground and the game has to be played. And I feel like the Cajuns proved that it doesn't matter what patch you have on your jersey of what conference you're in. It's about the name that you're playing for on the front of that jersey. Uh, and Louisiana showed a ton of pride in that victory. That's why I feel like it was such an emotional victory, because you look at the fact that your head coach graduated from there. He's from the area, and he's playing for his hometown team in his alma mater. Coaching for his hometown team in alma mater. When you look at that, it brings a lot more of a caring feeling about victories. They mean way more. And because of that, your team is a reflection of your head coach. And so you could tell this meant just as much for the players as it did for Coach Dez. Because you had guys like Lance Lejeune, who, was not able to play, was kicked off for the things that he did off the field or dismissed from the team last season. He comes back and has a breakout game, has a career game, against a power four opponent. You look at a guy like Ben Woolridge that transferred in years ago, and became the starting quarterback, got hurt, got the starting job, got hurt, and now he's back leading the team once again, and saying that, he feels like this offense is not the ones that feels any pressure, but they're the ones that are applying pressure. You look at the entire makeup of this team, and it's very similar to the way that Coach Dez has in terms of his mentality, that they have a chip on their shoulder. They're blue collar guys. They're going to go out and work to prove why they are the best on that particular Saturday. And it's just great to be able to see that. I think that this team, as they continue to build throughout the season, they will look back at this game and they will be able to say, like, this was where our season changed right here. Because you come off of a loss, and people always say, or coaches get to the podium and they say, oh, it's week by week and we're not paying attention, we're not looking back, we're not looking forward. Bro, that happens. I'm telling you, because I've been on really good teams and I've been on teams where we had a losing record. In my collegiate career, we went 3-7 twice, 4-6, and 5-5. So it was plenty of times throughout those seasons that we said, man, when we faced TLU, we should have beat them. Man, when we played Howard Payne, there was no way we should have lost that game. Man, if we would have did this, that, and that, we could have finally beaten Mayor Hardin Baylor. There's so many times that is going to happen. So it happens. So I'm almost certain that the conversations throughout the week was, yes, we are looking and staying focused on Wake Forest, but it's like, man, I wish if we could have did a few more different things, we could have beat Tulane. We would have been in this game coming in on the other side of it. We would have been 4-0. But the ups and downs that you face throughout the season is what ultimately makes you into the team that you want to be. And right now, like I said, coming off of a loss, like the way you lost, defensively being challenged the way that you were against the run game, and losing by one score, and to be able to come back and win a game by one score, that says a lot about what this program is hoping to be, and what ultimately they can be as they move forward in the future. So big congratulations to the Ragin Cajuns as they will move forward in the season and will face off with Southern Miss to open Sun Belt Conference play. That game has it been announced already? I think it's a 6:30 kickoff, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can go back and pull it up real quick. Yeah, it's a 6:30 kickoff. Cajuns will kick off with Southern Miss. They will go out to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, to face off with the Golden Eagles in their Sun Belt opener in that contest. So, staying in college football, staying in the state, LSU faced off with Sun Belt member South Alabama. And the talk all week long was, how is this LSU defense going to stack up against this explosive South Alabama offense? And like I said on Saturday night, I know we had just been talking about UL beating the Power Four, but it's levels to this stuff, man. It's levels to it. I know I just said that it does not matter sometimes of what patch you wear, but when you're one of those brands that are expected to be in the top 10 of the country every single year, and you face a team that is not expected to be in the top 10 of the country every single year, you're supposed to do what LSU did. They beat South Alabama 42-10, setting them up now to go into their first bye week before they get on the other side and will face off with Ole Miss. So, Elijah, for you, did this game confirm anything that we didn't already know? Was this supposed to be what LSU did? How did you feel about this victory for the Tigers?
I felt the same way Brian Kelly felt. Next week we'll be going back to work because I mean we all know how this wasn't a game that moved the measuring stick for them. This was South Alabama. No offense to South Alabama, but this is LSU. They're actually competing to be in that playoff spot when the end of the year happens. We can't say the same for South Alabama. But for the Tigers, what I did notice about the Tigers, the effort was there yesterday. The effort was definitely there. I just think that, with Brian Kelly saying, I don't know if this is concerning or not, but him saying we're going to get back to work after Monday. Monday we're going to get back to work during this bye week because they do have a tough opponent against Ole Miss, who just recently lost to Kentucky, but they know what they're up against because their season is on the line. If they don't beat Ole Miss, I don't think they make the college football playoff. To be honest with you, only for the simple fact that the SEC is tough. They don't beat Ole Miss. You still got Alabama, you still got Georgia, you still got Texas, you still got these teams that's competing to be there. So, with that being said, does this move the measuring stick? No, but the game next week, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after against Ole Miss, that's going to move the stick for them because at the end of the day, we want to see what we hope to see what LSU can do. I mean, we expected to see more than 40 points against South Alabama. Now, we didn't expect Garrett Nussmeier to throw 39 passes. Now, that's ridiculous, wild, crazy, however we want to describe it. But at the end of the day, the week against Ole Miss, which I think is their homecoming, correct?
Yeah, it is.
The week against Ole Miss, homecoming, that Saturday night in Baton Rouge, that's what we all glued into. We locked in. We hope that LSU pulls it out. And I want to see what type of energy Brian Kelly and the Tigers have with Ole Miss coming to town.
Yeah, I have to agree with you to say that that is going to be the moment that defines their season, because the recent AP poll has Ole Miss fallen 6 spots. They are now number 12 in the nation, and LSU moved up 1 spot and they're 13. So the winner gets that second loss. They'll probably flip flop. That knocks you right out there outside of contention. Obviously, there are different aspects about the college football playoff top 12 that could factor in, but you're right on that bubble team that could, if you have 2 losses and it's another team in the mix, do you get in? Do you get out? Because if you lose that game, now you're fighting and clawing and you're hoping that you can see another SEC team lose because, for LSU, they still have Texas A&M that's in the top 25. That's right at 25 now. So that's another ranked win that they could have if they get that. And then Alabama is now number 1 in the country. So if they remain number 1 and they come to your house and you're able to pick up that victory, we know that's going to be a night game. But if you're able to pick that victory up, now you're talking about pushing yourself in the top 10 conversation. It also kind of works against you because for USC, if they continue to win and they, are moving up,
Mm-hmm.
and you go and beat Alabama, they're always going to stay ahead of you and whatever the rankings are. It's almost like RPI in those regards. Because they beat you so early in the season, that makes that win look a lot better if you're able to go and beat Ole Miss for homecoming, if you're able to go and beat Texas A&M and knock them out of the top 25 and then go able to knock off the number 1 team in the country. But like you said, there was nothing about this game that we didn't already know. The offense is explosive, is capable of going out and scoring 30, 40 points a game as they should. I think that BK kind of kept Garrett in there a little bit longer because of that second interception that he threw. You can see on the broadcast that he was fussing at him and letting him know, hey, you have a high standard. We expect you to play a lot cleaner than that, especially against a team like this. So I think that could possibly have been the reason. It also could be for Heisman candidacy because he threw for 409 yards, which was a career best for him. But ultimately, they did everything that they were supposed to do in this victory. It was nothing surprising. The defense holding South Alabama to 10 points. The offense clicked on all cylinders. Caden Durham continued to prove why you have to recruit young talent. And that's why this is always and will forever be a young man's game. Josh Williams has been great for the program. He wears the number 18 and all that stuff. But it is very obvious right now that he is not the main running back. You might start him. You might put him out first. He might get the first carry, the first touch. But obviously now Caden Durham has made it abundantly clear that he is the starting running back for the LSU Tigers. And, he did leave with an injury. As of us recording this episode, we do not know of his health. So if this drops and something happens, don't be in the comments talking about, oh, y'all uninformed. We record these episodes and then we drop them the following day. So to my knowledge, as of now, Caden Durham is going to be healthy. They'll have that bye week for him to get healthy going into the Ole Miss game anyways, and you're going to need him. You, as much as, Garrett is capable of throwing the ball 39 times, like we've said, all season long, me and Elijah are both people that are believers in that you have to have balance. So you threw the ball 39 times, really 42 times because Ricky Collins came in and threw it 3 times. So you threw the ball 42 times. You ran it 27 times. And I know we're in the RPO games where sometimes the quarterback has the option to pull it and can throw it out, but you're still throwing the football. So you threw it 42 times, you ran it 27 times. You're looking a little pass heavy, right? You kind of need to dial that back. Let's make it like 34, and 39. Let's kind of whatever that math factors out. I know it's probably off, but let's dial it and even it out just a little bit so we can keep some balance so that you can keep the offense or keep the defenses understanding that they can't just pin their ears back or bomb blitz you, and get you off the field and get you out of your game plan. So LSU moves on to 4-1 on the season. Like I said, they are 13th in the country according to Associated Press. And now they will head into their bye week. And out of that bye week, they will face off with probably going to be a very pissed off Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss does have a game this week coming up. I'm trying to see who it is that they're facing. Oh, they're facing South Carolina. Good luck. Have fun. Have fun. Have fun. They putting up 70 if they can. If they can. Them boys putting up 70. So good luck with that one. Currently, Ole Miss is favored by 9 points according to ESPN Bet.
Who's home?
Was it?
Who's home?
It's at South Carolina. So I don't know how much of a difference that is. How much of a difference that's going to make for them. Even though South Carolina is still 3-1 and playing extremely well. I mean, now on the flip side to this, if you're LSU, you're not hoping necessarily that Ole Miss wins that game. But if South Carolina beats them, that matchup will lose a lot of luster. And it still will be very important for you for your college football hopes. But now, if South Carolina goes in or, brings in Ole Miss and they lose, now you're talking about potentially, falling to the late teens, early 20s of where Ole Miss could be in the polling. Now you're talking about maybe a 10 versus 19 matchup. Still a very good ball game, but it loses some of its luster. So we'll be keeping our eye on that Ole Miss and South Carolina. Well, you know what? What time is that game at? 2:30? Okay, I might be watching it because I'll be driving to Dallas to go see Usher. So some of that. I'm glad LSU is off. UL is not off. So I'm telling y'all right now, we will not be having a Saturday night post game because I'll be somewhere talking to my lady and watching Usher perform. So there's that. But LSU picks up the 42-10 victory over South Alabama next week. They have the bye week, and then they will face off with the Ole Miss Rebels for homecoming. So with that, let's hop into take number 3, and let's fly out. We've got a jam-packed take 3. Let's start off with one of the bigger headlines around the nation. Let's start with the Alabama Crimson Tide outlasting the Georgia Bulldogs. And if you were watching the game, you probably, or if you weren't, if you watched the first half of the game and you fell asleep, you probably would wonder why I'm using the term outlast. And that's because after holding a 28-0 lead, Alabama proceeded to allow the Georgia Bulldogs to come all the way back and take the lead. At one point in the game, I think it was 33 to, because the final, what was the final? 34-33? No, the final was 41-34. So that means
They took the lead 33, 34, I think.
33-34.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that Georgia outscored them 34-6 before Alabama came back and Jalen Milroe threw a pass to Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old sensation freshman, and he scored the go-ahead touchdown to give them the lead, and then Bama got an interception to win the ball game. Yeah, I mean, obviously our eyes were in, a million other places watching some of the LSU game, but me and Jasmine, we, went out and got something to eat, and I made sure I told him, I said, put the Bama game on over here, put the LSU game on over there. So the whole time I was eating, I was looking up, toggling back and forth with the both of them. For you, Elijah, like, what more does this say? Does this say more about Alabama's resiliency? Or does this say more to, what does this say more to Georgia's resiliency to be able to come back like that? Or does it speak more to Alabama's ability of taking their foot off the gas?
Georgia. I want to say Georgia because Alabama didn't really take their foot off the gas. Alabama was still calling the same pressures. Alabama was still, calling the majority of the same plays they did in the first half offensively. I think Georgia just settled down. And that's all it was. I think it just settled down because Carson Beck was missing throws. He was missing guys down the field. Like, not even paying attention to some of them. I know one time they showed a replay. It was one guy in the slot was streaking wide open down the field. It would have been a touchdown. But Carson Beck was so rattled that he checked it down. Like it was like they still were blitzing. They still were. It was just. I say this: if they meet again, I think the game will be closer. I don't think it'll be high scoring. Alabama or Georgia. Alabama may pull it out again, but I don't think that Georgia lets them score 28 points like that in the first half, and they'll be down that much so early. But I just say this though, Georgia was ready to fight. I think that yesterday proved that they can be one of the top teams. Like they struggled 2 weeks prior against Kentucky, just trying to figure it out. Against Alabama, you don't have time to just figure it out. You got to go. And I think in that third and fourth quarter is when they started to figure it out. Like, hey, this is what we can do, and this is the team that we can be. Now, I'm not taking that away from Alabama because that boy Ryan Williams is the truth. Now, that's just why I don't like when people say, he's a freshman, he's going to learn. I get it, he's going to learn. He's a freshman. But you can't tell me this 17-year-old is coming out here and balling like, he's one of the best receivers in college football I've ever seen. I mean,
Bro,
yeah,
that catch was nasty. It was crazy.
you can put him in the Heisman race. Like, honestly, you really could put him in the Heisman race. Look, I know I'm
You
going.
talking a little crazy now, brother. I don't know about that.
I know I'm going. But when the play was needed to be made, that boy is there. No matter when or how, that boy is there. Ryan Williams. I'm not saying he's better than Travis. I'm not saying he's better than Trey Harris. I'm not saying he's better than my boy Burden from Missouri. But what I seen from a freshman that's making plays on the stages that he's making plays on, guys, your eyes need to be open and saying, hey, this 17-year-old is a problem.
Yeah.
He may be a minor to everybody else. But y'all listen. Y'all better keep your eyes on this kid because I'm trying to tell you, you let him sneak by you, he's going to win this game. He's going to win games for Alabama. So,
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah,
17-year-old kid. I think the only other time that I've seen that I had a teammate. He was actually my tackle that played next to me. Shout out Rayvon. I think did Rayvon come in 17 or was there somebody? I think Rayvon came in and was 17 as we were going into fall camp. So I've never seen a kid be 17 like in the season. I've seen it be like, all right, we get to fall camp, and it was like I remember we had to sign forms for something like I think it was like a medical waivers or something like that, and it was like if you were over 18, if you were 18 or over, you could legally sign it off, but if you were under, you had to sign it, and then your mama and them had to sign it. So he was like one of the only ones that had to go and do it. But
Boy can't even sign a permission slip.
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, and I my mind might be slipping me, but I do think that was him that they had. But I remember being in fall camp and was like, bro, how old are you? What you got to do? What? But no, yeah, Ryan Williams was phenomenal in that game. I would say that this was more about Alabama taking their foot off the gas because when you're up 28-0, we've seen what happened when you're up 28-3. We've seen what happened. Tom Brady can come back and win a Super Bowl. So we know about that. But it's crazy. It was like roles reversed. Georgia teams dealing with them deficits and leads. But when you are up like that, it is extremely hard to play with a lead. But when you're up like that, you have to continue to apply pressure. You necessarily don't want to do things like run flea flickers and, go crazy. But you do have to understand, like, we have to continue to create separation. We have to continue to create the margin because when you look at teams are like, especially as good as Georgia are, they're going to get it together at some point. So whether it becomes 28-7, you got to continue to extend that margin. Like maybe if you make it 42-14, now it makes it harder for them to come back. But for the simple fact that you were outscored 34-6, that means that they stymied you altogether. They stopped, they halted all the momentum that you had, and they took it by the horns, and that kind of makes it tough for you as a ball club. And so Caleb DeBoer, in succession to Nick Saban, was able to pick up a huge victory. But I'm almost certain that in the meeting on Sunday, he was telling his team, guys, we have to continue to keep our foot on the gas. We have to floor it. We have to put that gas pedal as far as it can go down to the frame of the car. Just push it all the way down. Because if you don't, and you're playing against these good teams, and you're now in SEC play, you're not gonna be able to do that against everybody. You're not gonna be able to do that against Georgia. You're not gonna be able to do that against Ole Miss. You're not gonna be able to do that against Missouri. And of course, some of the talent that you have on your team helps you. Like we said, mentioning about Ryan Williams, I'm not willing to go as far as what Elijah is saying, putting him in the Heisman race, because he's making a difference. But I think he is one of the top receivers in the country. My take on the top receiver, I said it on Saturday and I put it out there, and people disagree, some agree, some was trolling. I believe that's Trey Harris, just because of, and it's not just because he's a local product. Like dude is balling. He's skillful with the way that he's handling business over there. But for Bama, they are going to have to figure out how to continue to apply pressure, how to continue to stay aggressive, and win ball games. Obviously, it was good to respond the way that they did right after Georgia took the lead. But in moments like that, you wish that you wouldn't have to have responded. So that was I think somebody had put the little graphic. You know how NCAA back in the day, it used to pull up the ESPN Classic and it would number it. It was like ESPN Classic #1 or whatever it was at the bottom of the screen. That was a great game for sure. Staying in the college football world, while Alabama put their foot on the gas and then let up a little bit, Colorado did not. They beat UCF. What was it, 49-21? I think it was 40 something to 21. I had the score pulled up and it went away. But they came out and they now have. Is this their second Big 12 victory this season?
They beat Baylor and they beat
And now
somebody
UCF.
week before.
Also, this would be their third then.
Well, Colorado State is not Big 12. So who did they beat off the hills of Hail Mary? They came back.
That was Baylor, and then they went into overtime and they beat them. So that was their Big 12 opener, I believe.
Okay, so no, the Nebraska's not a Big 12, huh?
No, I think they're Big 10, I believe. So, dang, bro, this stuff don't want to load up. All right, Colorado played North Dakota State, Nebraska, Colorado State, Baylor, UCF. So they beat them 48-21. I remember before. Yeah, I mean that is what you're supposed to do. In that game, Travis Hunter once again is making the case of why not only should, but why he probably will be, barring any injury, why he probably will be the Heisman Trophy winner. 9 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown. He also had a crazy diving interception. Bro, when you look at the screen grabs of when the ball was released and then when the play was made, Travis was 8-9 yards away from it, and it was like a bubble or now screen or something like that. He came downhill and dove at the ball. Like Shadur Sanders, 28-35, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Again, we said it last week. These two guys are going to take this team as far as they want to go. Is it sustainable? We do not know. It's the college ranks. I don't think it would be sustainable if they were in the NFL. But right now, it's proven to be. They've beaten a Baylor team. They've beaten a UCF team. Next week, they got them boys. Man. Look here. Kansas State. I was watching a whiff of their game Who was it that Kansas State was playing? Oklahoma State. Because I always like to, like, when I'm flipping through the channels to watch a game, I try to see like who is playing the closest, and I'll just hang on that game for a second. So I think I turned on Ole Miss and Kentucky first, and I think I had it on one TV, and then I had the Kansas State and Oklahoma State game on the other TV. And that boy Avery Johnson with that little blonde hair flipping under that
Yeah.
helmet,
Yeah.
hey, he be slinging that thing, boy. Hey, that boy, cold boy. Hey, so if you talking about the game that you got to figure it out, this that one, this that one. Colorado, like I said, picked up that victory. For you, Elijah, like how much of this does this victory, now that you have your second one under your belt in the Big 12, how much of this is kind of boosting the confidence of Colorado for them to believe, like, last year we were in the Pac-12, we didn't do so hot, now we're here, and I think, have they already tied the number of wins that they had last season? They were 4-8 last year. 4-8 last year, so now you've already tied the number of wins that you had total last year. How much did that victory kind of set them up for success going down the line in the rest of the year?
I think it set them up, a little bit. But I think that this week is more of their challenge against. I'm sorry, after their bye week against Kansas State. But I think this sets them up
Oh
just to
yeah,
say.
that's right.
So I'm just saying that, hey, you know what? Let me just go ahead and um, we got our winning mentality, our winning ways down. I know when the way we was talking about this offensive line and how they don't give Shador enough time. They look better these last couple of weeks, last 2 weeks. Travis Hunter is going to be Travis Hunter. Shador is going to be Shador when he has that time. So now it's just now putting it all together, which they did yesterday against UCF, seeing how dominant they can be on the football field. Now, when I say this is a big win, I would say it's a big win in the sense of yes, it's coming together and being complimentary in football. But we want now it's time to see it against Kansas State. Kansas State is one of those teams that they're on the outside of this college football playoff. I know they're ranked 23, but they're on the brink of it. They went out and matched to get in. But if Colorado wants to solidify their name to be in that top tier ranking, they need to go talk to Kansas State. Let me go ahead and handle that business. Let me go stand on business at Kansas State because if Colorado's the team that we think can be one of the top 12 teams and making the postseason or make the postseason and try to make a run from there, they have to handle business here. They already lost that game to Nebraska pretty bad. It didn't look good. Even the win against North Dakota, is that South Dakota State?
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State, the opening week, he was like, "Oh man, this don't look good at all." But again, they progressively got better and better after that. So I just want to see what it looks like after Kansas State before I say, "Hey, this means a lot," because beating UCF is big. Winning a college football game is big. But I want to see what we do it against the big dogs, and that's the only thing that we struggled seeing with Colorado. We lost to Oregon last year, USC last year. We lost to Utah last year. This year, I know Kansas State is the next thing on there in their way. Top 23 team in the country. Let me see what you can do with that.
Yeah, Kansas State actually moved up 3 spots in the latest AP poll, so they're 20th now. On the rest of their schedule, I feel like, in my opinion, for Colorado to even sniff that outsider's chance of the college football playoffs, they got to win out. They have to win out, and they have to win the Big 12 championship. Because when you look at, like, if you're comparing apples to oranges, and you're picking a SEC team that might have 1 or 2 losses on the year, but might have like 1 loss in SEC play, does that strength of schedule look better than Colorado, that now they will have only played, Kansas State, who's ranked, and Utah further down the line, and they're both bottom of the top 25 teams. Like, they're going to have to win out and win the Big 12 in order to get into that conversation. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that this was a monumental win or anything. When you talk to Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, I think he expects his team to dominate in the way that they did, and that's what he intends to see when they get up big. That they're supposed to stay big. pause, and they're supposed to, win their football games in the way that they're supposed to. But like you said, like facing off against Kansas State is going to probably put you either in the receiving votes conversation, or maybe it, propels you directly into the top 25. We don't know. Um, things change on a week to week basis. So that game is going to be much, 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 much more important than this victory over UCF. UCF was undefeated coming into this game, so it was a let's go ahead and prove, or go ahead and give them their first loss, prove them why we're a better team or whatever. But when you're talking about magnitudes of games, this is probably your biggest one as of now. So Colorado will have a week off, and then they will get back to action on October 12th when they face off with the Kansas State Wildcats. Um, Now let's pivot over to something else in college football. Me and Elijah were both talking about this video, and it's something that does happen quite a bit in the game of football, that people, they say you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. It was a moment in the game when Ole Miss was playing Kentucky, and Jackson Dart made a motion to his running back and told him to get down, essentially telling him to fake an injury. Um, yeah, and you get the injury timeout, and defenses do it as a way to slow down offenses when they're on a roll. If they're trying to go into their turbo or tempo their offense up, defensive players, defensive coordinators will do that. What are your thoughts, Elijah, on the faking of injuries, the moments? It's almost like the boy who cried wolf type thing. What do you feel about that?
Man, these plays need to be reviewable. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Offensively, defensively, we talked about this. It's a strategy, especially if you do tempo or you need an extra break. Um, but if it's that blatant, I think it need to be reviewed. Laundry need to come on the field. We need to back them up. They need to find a way to do something about that, because that was just blatant. He was like, go down, like fall, like what are you doing, bro? Like, you just doing it right in front of the refs. Like, at least send him out the motion, act like he tripped over himself. I caught a cramp. Like, that man literally just looked at the sideline and just said, "I'm down." And I think that the committee should start looking at stuff like this, because that can really determine the outcome of the game. I mean, they're doing this purposely, going tempo, doing this stuff to mess up your formations or throw you off guard. And for you to do something like that, is it unfair? Yes, it is. But if you're doing it blatantly, like, and it's like not getting caught, or you're just doing it like that, I should say, that's something they should look into. Like, now, if he was in motion and he tripped over himself, you can't say nothing, because he was in motion and he tripped over himself. My calf, I caught a cramp. It's hot out here. Like, that happens. But you just drop it to the ground for no reason after they telling you to drop to the ground. Nah. So I think they need to start reviewing stuff like that, and call it. It's a 5-yard penalty, or to me, 5-yard penalty, it could be a loss of down. So I think that's what you should do.
What would you even call it? Because I think the most recent uh addition to things is what they call it, like misingenuous signals, that LSU has gotten a ton of them already, where like basically college football teams, instead of like going with a regular snap count, a lot of quarterbacks, they'll clap. And so you'll see defenses do things like the linebacker will clap, or they'll do something, they'll stem the defensive line or things like that, and they call it like misingenuous signals or something like that, and that's a penalty now. Like the game changing, bro, because I remember it was a game we played, and we were playing against Texas Lutheran, and they were stemming, and the linebacker, we had our snap count was like blue down, said hut, and so the quarterback would go blue down, and then the linebacker would go move, and when he would say that, the D line would stem, and so like the first 2-3 times that they did that, obviously we got false start penalties, because we like, oh man, like we moving because they moving and all that stuff like that. But this was, I think, before that was like really emphasized as a penalty. So I don't even know what you would call that penalty, like faking injuries, loss of downs, third down, whatever.
I thought it
I
was
don't even,
false start. I don't know.
maybe. I don't know what you would call it. That would be something that you would need to add to the rule book. Um, I want to say I agree with you to an extent. When it's that blatant, you have to do something. But as somebody that has firsthand seen that stuff happen, let me tell y'all something. It be coaches on the sideline that are designated to tell them, like, I'm giving away recipes. What Michael Irvin say, we're losing recipes. Because somebody should have been on the sideline and been like, hey, go down, go down. That was the signal. Go down.
What is
Because I
it?
remember, go down, go down. I swear, bro. One time we were sitting on the sideline and we had just come off for a drive, and whoever we were playing, I can't remember who it was, but we were at home, so we were on the bench, and I remember they did it. So we, on the board, we looking at stuff, trying to get ready for the next drive, and a guy they limping him off. They're like, and it was like one of our best players, and they were bringing him off, and he was like, he was selling it, ah, ah. He got to the sideline. He stood up and walked off. I said, "What the heck just happened?" They said, "Oh, he shot him." And then later down the line, I saw they do that. Yeah, yeah. That's a. Is it fair? No. But you know what? Life ain't fair. Like, it happens. Like, what do you want me to do? If you care about it so bad, when they finally get up after faking it, score a touchdown. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. Like, there are just that's the same thing with, like, offensive player doing a rub route, running a pick. Like, it's all about angles. It's all about advantage. Whatever. That is the thing about it being in the heat of competition. I'm going to do whatever it takes to beat you. So in that, instead of you saying, "Man, they're slowing down our tempo," score a touchdown. Score a touchdown. Let's score a touchdown. That's it. Now, like I said, I agree. When it is that blatant, where you can look on the replay and see him pointing to his running back to get down, I agree that there should be consequences for that. But if it's somebody on the sideline and because they doing their signals, so if they're all right, we're running Cub, and they do that and they filter it in there, so be it, bro. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. You have to check I think probably the only thing that could potentially stop it is if referees start telling players, like, all right, you got to be out a certain number of plays. Because I think at one point even Trey Amos did it. He went down, and I think one or two plays later, the commentator, he was like, to no surprise, Trey Amos is back on the field. And I was like, hey, man, look, I get it. People as fans are going to be mad. They're going to be upset. And there's going to be outrage about certain things. There's probably going to be outrage about me saying this, whatever. But as somebody that's been in the line of competition, all I can say is go score a touchdown. Make them to where, all right, you fall on the ground, but you're going to be falling down, being down 42-0. How about that? Yeah, you're going to be getting injury timeouts, but you're going to be getting whooped. Like, it is what it is. And that's kind of how I feel about that one. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of that. So finally, as we get ready to close out take number 3, the Chicago Bears held a meeting with their offensive coordinator. I believe his name is Shane Waldron. It was Mercedes Lewis, it was Caleb Williams, and amongst others. They went into the meeting and they said, "Coach, you got to call some better plays. You got to get a little more aggressive. We need to spice it up a bit. Need to add a little razzle dazzle." And seemingly so, they were able to do that on Sunday with a 24-18 victory against Elijah's Los Angeles Rams. So, first of all, before you go on your tangent about how the Rams probably should have lost that game, how do you feel about players coming in and essentially speaking up for themselves, asking for what they want, and trying to have that good working relationship with their coaches?
They should. They absolutely should. I mean, I know we talk about Caleb Williams a lot, and we talk about what the national media does, and him struggling. And I really simply blame that on coaching. And Shane Waldron, who I'm gonna get on, is the guy that beat us today. He is horrible. He's horrible. I'm gonna tell you how. I could go down this whole list. You want to know? He's from the McVay Shanahan tree. He came to the Rams and was our quarterback coach. I apologize, for probably 2 years. Went away to go to Seattle. We tapped that bud in Seattle while he was the offensive coordinator, trying to steal our system. And then he comes around and goes to Chicago. And I'm like, this is a bad hire for Caleb. But you know what? Whatever. He does bad in the first 3 games, and then today he shows his tale of how to call a game. And I'm not even going to get into why I feel like this, but at the end of the day, players should do this because Caleb has all the talent in the world, and offense has a lot of talent in the world. Mercedes Lewis is a tight end, but Cole Kmet is that guy, the number one guy for them at the tight end room. You got DeAndre Swift, who's the running back. He's a good running back. We got DJ Moore on the outside. Keenan Allen, who just came back to Sunday. He's one of your could be a slot or an X, however you want to move him. And then you got the rookie Rome Adonze. So it's like, figure it out, Shane. And I think with these guys coming out there, they played, they got in his ear enough to actually get sustain some drives. And I know it started to click, especially in the third quarter of that ball game. I think the first 4 or 5 drives, they got like 75 yards. The opening third quarter, they drove like 80 or 90 yards, and they got into the end zone. So they figured out in the third quarter. Let's just see if it's sustainable. Let's hope it's sustainable because, again, I'm rooting for Caleb and what he can do in the NFL. So just got to tip your hat off to Shane and those guys for pressing the issue, and hopefully the Bears could look like a better offensive team as the season goes.
Yeah, I did not know that this was hitting so close to home for you. I didn't know it was under that McVay tree. I do agree that the players should be able to voice their opinions, especially at this high of a level. Like I've said it before, bro, you a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. Like we got to have a good working relationship. And if you stink, you making me stink. Like you ain't finna rub this funk on me. No, we finna figure this out. Somebody finna have to get squeaky clean, So I agree with it, I agree with it, even at the collegiate level to some degree, just because, like, bro, if power is working, don't run outside zone, don't run inside zone. If we killing these boys with power, man, run that mud 50 times until they stop it, So, if Caleb and them is going in there and they're saying like, "Hey, coach, we got to figure out how to go vertically down the field. Stop calling all slants. Don't call all hitches. Don't call that. Call that later down the line. Let's open the game up and let's just run. Everybody run all goals. PA all goals. Let's just do it. Whatever. If that's what it takes, and those conversations need to be had, if ultimately down the line all you're trying to do is win games because that's the business that you're in. You're in the business of winning games. I'm all for it. It's when it becomes and it spills over. And obviously, this report comes out because guys are insiders and insiders doing their jobs and they're talking. But to people that don't understand it, this happens more times than not. I'm sure this happens for LSU. This happens for the Ragin Cajuns. This happens for everybody. Like, if you are a good to great coach, you listen to your players. Because it's like, yeah, I can call all the plays that I want to, but y'all the ones out there executing it. I would love when we would come on the sidelines, and our offensive coordinator would come over and ask us, like, what run game is working right now? Like, what do y'all feel like as a line that y'all are blocking best against right now? Man, stretch is working. Keep calling it. All right, cool. Now he go in there. He going to grab his pen, going to get that highlighter, and he going to circle and highlight around it. So now he can figure out how to continue to build around his game plan because when you start a game off, you have your first 10 to 12 plays kind of scripted. But then from there, you're going based on the flow of the game. You're calling plays based on, tendencies, on what hash you're on or what's working best for you. So if you come out and the first play of the game, you hit them over the top with a streak, and then you come out on your next drive and you hit them again for another streak, You know what you calling on your third drive? All goes. Everybody run it till they stop it. Just that's what you have to do. And that can only happen if you have a great working relationship with your players. So I love it. I love great conversations between players and coaches, especially when they're healthy conversations. When they become explosive and it starts boiling out on the field, when the receiver is like, throw me the ball, and they throwing helmets and all this stuff, that's okay. Now we gotta dial this all in. Keep it in house. Let's keep all the drama in here. When you a family, my pops used to always say this: we can be arguing, fussing, cussing, and fighting, but the minute that we step outside this door, the world needs to think that we are all peaches and cream. That's how you kind of have to be as a football team. Obviously, there are moments in the competitive heat of battle that you just have those moments where it's like, come on, bro, now we gotta have it. We gotta have that interception. We gotta have that block. We gotta have that pass. We gotta have that catch. Whatever. Like those are moments, but it shouldn't be dysfunctional. It shouldn't be where every single time that the cameras are panning over to you on the sideline, y'all fighting. It shouldn't be like that. But it should be a healthy working relationship. So I'm glad that those guys, especially with Caleb being in the mix, being the franchise quarterback and being a rookie, is setting the tone of like, look, if you want to be around as an offensive coordinator, because that's another thing too, like, bro, like we are helping each other. Because again, if you stink, I stink. And stinking in the NFL gets you fired.
Right.
So if you get fired, then I have to go in and learn a completely new system. So all the concepts that you had, all of the lingos, all of the calls, I gotta flush that and learn somebody else's. So that's also helping with stability and job security. That's gonna help them in the long run. Because for this guy, Shane Waldron, all right, if you're able to continue to coach this team well, have them be successful offensively, that's gonna build up your resume, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you can stick around 2, 3, 4 years. And now y'all can sustain success. It can lead to playoff victories. It can lead to deep playoff runs. It can lead to a Super Bowl. Who knows? But then also on the back end, when somebody get fired, that's a little stinking somewhere else, they can look to you. So it's kind of like you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You call good plays, we make the plays. That's how it needs to work. It can never be, I can't remember what episode we talked about on this, but I remember I said that like, you can't just be calling plays and say run it, whatever. Figure it out. This is my system. If you don't like it, get off the team. All right, well, brother, you ain't gonna have nobody to play for you. Ain't nobody gonna like you. If they don't like you, you get your butt forced out of there. And if you're not, especially if you're not winning too. So there's that. So I'm all for it.
But you know who need to hear that? Sean McVay. Sean McVay. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way that we was in the red zone 6 times. Let me tell you how it went. The first time, field goal. Second time, field goal. Third time, strip fumble. Fourth time, missed the field goal. Fifth time, we finally scored a goddamn touchdown. Now, there's no way, and I'm going to tell you how it all went down. When you get to the red zone, let me ask y'all a question. When you go to Waffle House, right? You've never been to Waffle House ever. But when you get there, you sit down, you look at the menu. There's a lot of stuff on the menu. Waffle House got cheeseburgers. Waffle House got steak and cheese, cheesesteaks, however you call it. Waffle House has steak. When you sit down, right, what's the most simple thing to get you over if you're really that hungry? A waffle. So when it's 3rd and 3, Sean McVay, keep it simple. Run the ball. There is nothing else you could do but drop back and throw the ball 3 times in the row. Keep it simple. Boom. Kyron Williams will get you a first down. If you don't, 4th and 1, let's go for it. Let's just go for it to see what happens. Bro, you just can't throw the ball 3 times in the red zone. And I love Matthew Stafford. I love him to death. Tough. Yeah, everybody call him toughest man. Whatever. At the end of the day, when you got somebody behind you what we could lean off of, do it. That's simple. Simple. We don't go to Waffle House to get a steak. Keep it a waffle and get the first down. It's that simple. It's that we can't be losing in Chicago. But that's good.
You buffered a little bit in your tangent, but we got your point. Don't when we go to Waffle House, get a waffle and run the ball. Period. All right. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up the show with our final take, the Fitz take, in which we are talking about the UNLV quarterback, Matthew Sluka, redshirting because of NIL disparity. Apparently, UNLV, who had started the season 3-0, and I believe they were either on the outside looking in of getting ranked, or they are ranked now. I think they're on the outside looking in. Yeah, they're on the outside looking in. But they were 3-0 for the first time in a very long time. And this young man was supposed to be paid $100,000. And apparently, he's only been paid 3 bands. So, that brother said, I'm on redshirt. I'm going to sit it on down. Because he said, I got to put me first. I got to put me first, Lucius. I got to put me first. That's what he said. So, Elijah, I'll let you have the floor first. And we'll wrap things up.
Hey, I'll tell you this, man. I'm not mad at you at all for sitting out. I know UNLV still won without you, but it doesn't mean I don't care. Right now, it's not about the football team; it's about you, dog. They promised you $100,000 and only gave you $3,000. That's not even. I don't think that's 70% of what they owe you. I'm not sure if the contract basis was supposed to be finish out the season and give you $100,000. I don't know what it was, but they owe you 100. And for you to stand your ground against a college for real, because that's tough first and foremost. But at the end of the day, I think that's what's right, because you signed a contract, they owe you X amount of dollars, you're sitting out, and you deserve to. Now, will this cause trouble in other colleges or other universities in the near future? I'm not sure. We probably will see more contracts, and we'll have to see what's going on with that. But I think for you to stand and take your stand first, I say do it, man. I'm happy that you did it. I'm not sure what the relationship with you and UNLV is right now, currently, but I hope that situation could get resolved. Um, if I had to tell you to do something, I mean, I don't know if you take my advice. Don't settle. Never settle. If they say, all right, we'll settle our differences for 75K, no. 100K or nothing. Don't you settle. Don't you sit there and settle. We're not settling. No, we ain't. You ain't settled for a 6 to get married to. No, I'm settling for a 10. Now you better settle for that 100,000. You better settle for that 100,000, bro. Look, hey, I don't know too much, but I know a little something about something. Don't settle if they offer that to you, bro. And I'm happy you standing your ground.
Yeah. I think we're on both sides, on the same side of this thing, man. I know people are saying that this is ruining college football and this is the worst thing that could possibly happen and blah, 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 blah. But that's 3%, $3,000 for our math geniuses. That's 3% of his total of what he was supposed to be paid out. So let me ask you this, people that are like, this is ruining college sports. If you go and get your dream job, them folks pay you a salary of $100,000. They tell you you can start on Monday. You happy, right? You get there and you get employee of the month a couple of times. First, let's say a month or two, right? Because you got to get past your 90-day probation and all that stuff. But we speaking hypothetically. And you get to that point. No, we ain't going to even go that far. You work your first month because you got to get your 2 weeks in the hole. You got to get your 2 weeks in the hole. So you work your first month and you look at your check and they give you $30 on that first check. What you doing? You're going straight to HR. Hey, you on the payroll? Somebody, hey, why is my check $30? My salary is $100,000 a year. It's supposed to be way more than this. What's the issue? And they say, oh man, we ain't got it. We gonna figure it out though. Let's keep working hard. What you gonna do? Huh? You gonna keep working there? Cause I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm chucking up the deuces saying peace, see you later. Bye, all that. I'm out of there. All of that. I'm leaving. So is it selfish? To a degree, yes, it is. Your team is 3-0 at this point. And I think another guy on the team redshirted and is sitting out. I don't know if it's for NIL reasons, but I do know it's another kid over at USC that's also redshirted and sitting out, but he got a history of doing this. But in this specific instance of not getting paid what you're owed, I'm for it, bro. Now, how do we resolve this issue is what we're faced with now. I think what will ultimately happen is that now college football will become like professional football. I think now you will have players, instead of signing national letters of intent, they will sign contracts. And I think those contracts will be duration based. I think you will have a high school senior signing a 2-year deal for $500,000 and you can get a re-up after those 2 years. Now, on the positive side, that's going to hold these schools accountable because you are going to be legally bound to pay these players that $500,000 or they're going to sue you, right? But on the flip side, players, when you stand up for something, I'm all for it. But you got to look at the alternative to this. On the flip side to that is that if you're not playing well in them 2 years and it's time to re-up, they're not going to re-up with you. And you're going to have to figure it out, which ultimately will turn college football into the free agency, similar to what we're seeing in professional sports. For your avid college football fan of, we love seeing amateur guys just putting their bodies on the line and playing. Those days are gone. These are business decisions because obviously, some of these guys are getting great money. Some of them are getting not necessarily life-changing money, but circumstance-changing money, right? If you give a 17, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 20, however, well, some of these boys, 25, 24 because of COVID, that's neither here nor there. But if you give an 18 to 24-year-old $100,000 now, their circumstances are going to change. Whether that's them getting a new car, whether that's them helping their mama with some bills, whether that's them trying to put some money back for something, some circumstances are going to change in their life. And so these guys are fighting for that because for some players, football is their only way out. The only way they going to get out the hood is if they can catch this football, if they can tackle this quarterback. They are grinding for that circumstance changing money so they can ultimately get that life changing money when they get to the league. That's what they're working for. So the same way that players in the NFL hold out from training camp, they sit out and all that stuff like that. You can call it selfish all you want to, but my dad always would say, like, when you're looking at a situation, you got to look at it from each person's perspective. Put their shoes on and look at it. So like the example I gave, if you go on a job and they're paying you $100,000 salary and your first check is $30, you're not staying there, bro. You're not staying there. And you can't tell me that you would otherwise. I believe if you work hard, you'll get OU. Man, look, we ain't in them days no more. All that hard work stuff, hard work is a very, very important aspect. You have to work hard to get things in life, but you also got to be smart. And what he's doing for his future ultimately will be smart because I guarantee you, I don't know what his stats were. I haven't looked that deep into it because I'm just looking at this situation. But if somebody down the road offers him $250,000, he going. That's smart. It's a business decision. This is a business. College football is not the days of old. This is a business now. And these are the days that we have to deal with. So I think we will start to see more contracts, which in turn, because these kids are so young, agents. If you're a sports agent right now, this your time to shine, brother. This your time. Sister, brother, this is your time to shine because agents are going to be needed now more than ever to negotiate these deals. I believe my client is worth $500,000. I believe my client is worth $1 million, and they're gonna be negotiating these deals. So it's all business at this point. We're wishing the best for Matthew Sluka. We're also wishing the best for UNLV as they're continuing to win, because winning brings about a lot more things. It brings in and drives in revenue. It helps teams to continue to grow as programs. So we're wishing the best for both sides of the spectrum. But that's our take on that. Y'all leave y'all's take down in the comments and let us know what you think about Matthew Sluka redshirting due to NIL disparities. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think this might go on record as one of the longer episodes that we've had of the Fitz Take Podcast. But like we said at the beginning, this was a very jam-packed weekend. Shout outs to y'all for, again, getting us to 77 subscribers. Thank y'all for rocking with us to this now 10th episode. Who knows, man? We keep going. We'll get to 100. So we appreciate all of y'all. Like we said at the beginning, if you haven't already, you're watching this video, you've made it to this point, and you haven't hit the bell yet, go on, hit the bell. Subscribe to the Fitz Take Podcast so you will be able to keep up with whenever we drop an episode, whenever we drop our cut-ups, whenever we go live, all of those things. You'll be in the loop. Also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. Also follow my production company, ONEWAY Productions. That will also be linked down in the description. So with that, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in. He's your guy, Elijah Nixon. I'm your boy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. You can always call me Fitz. We appreciate y'all so much for tapping in with us, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take Podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take Podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.